Welcome back, guys. Jay here. Let's get back to what we were doing. So basically what we did last time was we set up the third person camera and then we got it to follow the player, and then now we have player movement, so you can basically explore this area, and plus the camera will chase you wherever you go. And now you can sort of look around the player as well, and then you have this third person perspective. But there are some issues that we got to fix, and if you were following along, you should have a very similar gameplay as mine. So let's have a look at what we have. So this is what we have currently, and this works. So you can look around and then also move to different directions, and I can change the player's direction like this. But if you were to press WASD keys and basically move around, it's going to do this. There you go. So when I press A and D, it kind of like turns in its place, right? So the best way I can show this is by docking the player game view over here, and then let's have a look at the gameplay up here. So this is me just pressing S key to go back. That's a weird behavior, right? And plus, if I were to press A and D keys to go sideways, that is not happening either. So let's fix this. So it's quite simple to fix this issue. If you got the same issue, if you were following along, you just simply have to modify your camera to respect the direction that the player is pressing. If the player is pressing A, you got to go to the left. So that basically means the camera should not force the player to just pin around its axis, and instead go along to that direction, and then basically just allow that to happen without trying to chase that or change the player's direction, right? So in practice, this is what it looks like. These are the changes you got to do to your code. So in the previous code, the biggest difference was we were trying to change the player's rotation based on the direction that they were trying to go to in the player camera, right? So instead of doing that now that we have a move direction variable in third-person controller, we're going to refer to that and respect that, because third-person controller knows where the player is trying to go to, right? So that's exactly what we did here. So the change here is we're now accessing the move direction variable, which is a public variable in the third-person controller that we just made. So how do we access this? Now, this is something new that you guys are going to learn. Imagine you have two scripts, and script B has a certain public variable that script A wants to access. And this is a very common situation in Unity, and you're going to have to face this many, many times when you're building your games, right? So this is one of those situations where player camera needs to access this move direction variable in player controller. How do you do that? This weird notation is exactly how you do it. It's kind of weird, and it's kind of like, it takes a while to wrap your head around this and to remember this, but don't worry about it. The more you do it, the more you remember it, okay? So we're simply saying player, which is simply a game object of the player, dot get component. Now, what is a component again? If you guys remember, I introduced it in a couple of sessions back. So these are all components, these little blocks here, right? These are components. So third-person controller here is also a component. Now, a component is basically made up of a script. So you could pretty much say that a script is a component if it's attached to a game object, right? Which means script, if it's attached to a game object, becomes a component, right? Component of that game object. So we need to access this component. How do you do that? Simply by using this notation. We can simply say player.getComponent, and this weird triangle notation over here. You can say the triangle brackets simply say third-person controller. That's the script you're trying to access. That's the name up there. Close that triangle bracket, open empty brackets, right? This is a very weird Unity kind of C# code, but you'll get used to this, right? This is how you access that. But if you really think about it, if you put all the symbols aside, the meaning is quite straightforward. Player.getComponent, which component? Player controller. And then you simply say dot move direction, and this refers to this variable, because this variable stores the direction that we want to go to. Perfect. That being said, we then rotate the player using that direction, and then we also check if the player is not trying to move, and if they're actually not trying to move, it's going to be 0. That's why we added this condition, not equal to 0, and then we rotate to that direction that the player is trying to go to. With these changes, guys, it's going to be much smoother. Let me just demonstrate it for you guys. By the way, this code is down below if you guys want to use it. And yeah, let's have a look at what we just did. So when you come back to Unity, one thing you definitely have to do is, if you go to your player, there should be a new main camera over here, which I've already done, right? So it should say none in you guys' code. Simply just drag your main camera over here, which has this little camera icon. Just drag that over to this slot, the main camera. That's it. So let's have a look at what we just did, how well it works. So now I can go forward. I can now go to the right, see how the player turned. That's good. That's a good sign. And same way, I can go to the left as well. And then I can go back as well. See how the player now respects the directions a bit better. I can also just rotate the player like I was doing earlier. I can change the direction of where the player is trying to go to. Awesome. This feels good. All right, I can definitely increase the speed of the player a little bit. But that being said, guys, that's it for this session. I just wanted to show you guys how to fix that issue. And in the next video, we're going to start working on the roll mechanic, which is going to be a fun one. I'll see you there.